The descent onto the planet of Zoria was nothing short of breathtaking. As Captain John Hawke guided his spacecraft, the nebular drift, through the swirling mists of the upper atmosphere, the view that unfolded below was a tapestry of vibrant colors and textures that seemed to pulse with life. The planet, a recently discovered gem in the uncharted Valaris system, was teeming with mysteries and ancient customs, ripe for exploration. John's mission was unusual, to say the least. He was to participate in an ancient Zolorian ritual, a requirement for any interstellar visitor who wished to establish relations with the tribal communities of this world. The pleasure rites, as the locals called them, were a series of cultural exchanges that demanded a deep personal involvement. The rite required that he, as a guest, must please every woman in the tribe, a task that was as daunting as it was perplexing. As the nebular drift touched down on the outskirts of the tribal settlement, a welcoming party was already forming. The Zolorians were a humanoid species, distinguishable by their luminous skin that shimmered under the planet's twin suns. Their expressions were warm, and their attire was a mix of ornate traditional garments and practical gear suited for their planet's variable climates. The tribal chieftain, a robust figure with an imposing presence, approached John as he disembarked. Her name was Zara, and she bore the markings of high status, jewels that adorned her forehead and intricate tattoos that snaked around her arms. "Captain John Hawke, we welcome you to Zoria," Zara said, her voice carrying a melodious quality that resonated with warmth. "Your participation in our rites is not only a great honor for us, but a bridge between our worlds." John nodded, his mind racing to grasp the full implications of his role here. "Thank you, Chieftain Zara. I am prepared to respect and participate in your customs to the best of my abilities." The tribe led John to the center of the village, where the rites would commence. The ceremony was to be held at the sacred grounds, a clearing marked by ancient stones and vibrant bioluminescent flora. As night fell, the area lit up with natural lights, creating an ethereal setting. The first of the rites was a dance, a complex series of movements that involved the entire tribe and required John to partake actively. The women of the tribe, each a representation of their family's history and honor, danced around him, their movements both inviting and testing. As the dance progressed, John felt the weight of his task. Each woman was to be pleased, not just in a physical sense, but emotionally and spiritually. It was a challenge that went far beyond any diplomatic mission he had ever undertaken. The act of pleasing involved understanding and connecting with each woman's hopes, dreams, and desires, communicating in a way that transcended words and gestures. With the dance concluding, the next phase of the rites began. This involved more intimate interactions, where John would spend time with each woman, learning about her life, her duties, and her role in the tribe. Each encounter was unique, demanding his full attention and empathy. As the night deepened and the stars shone brightly above, John realized that this ritual was not merely about pleasure in the conventional sense, but about establishing deep, meaningful connections. The success of his mission would hinge on his ability to genuinely engage with and understand the members of the tribe. By dawn, the initial rites were complete, and John was left to reflect on his experiences. Each interaction had taught him something new about the tribe and about himself. The task was immense, and yet he felt a burgeoning sense of fulfillment and intrigue. As the sun rose, casting golden hues over the village, John prepared for the next set of challenges. He knew that pleasing every woman in the tribe was about more than just diplomatic etiquette. It was about bridging two vastly different cultures through the most human experiences of all: understanding, compassion, and connection. And the morning brought a sense of renewed purpose to John as he strode through the village, greeted by the soft hues of dawn reflecting off the metallic structures that dotted the landscape. The Zolorians, he noted, had achieved a harmonious blend of technology and tradition, a balance he had rarely seen on other colonized planets. Today, his tasks were laid out by Zara with clear intent. He was to learn and participate in the vitality weaving, a sacred ritual that involved the crafting of bioluminescent textiles that held significant cultural importance. Each woman in the tribe contributed a piece to this tapestry, encoding their personal stories and the history of their people within the glowing threads. As John sat with the first group of women, they taught him the intricate art of weaving these radiant materials. The loom was unlike any he had seen before, a complex arrangement of organic and synthetic components that responded to touch with subtle variations in light and color. The women shared their stories as they worked, tales of Zoloria's past battles, its peace treaties, and the legends of the stars above. Through these stories, John began to see the threads of connection between their culture and his own, drawing parallels that brought them closer. His hands moved more confidently with the loom as he became part of their narrative, physically weaving his story alongside theirs. The day progressed with John meeting more women, each session a deep dive into the personal and the mythical. He learned of their challenges and triumphs, the dreams they harbored for their children, and the fears they faced with the encroachment of galactic enterprises hungry for new resources. One encounter stood out, a young woman named Lyra, who was a keeper of the tribe's oral history. She led him to the outskirts of the village, to a secluded spot where the natural bioluminescence of the flora was brightest. Here, she recounted the prophecy of the Skywalker, a figure from ancient lore said to arrive from beyond the stars to unite the tribes under a banner of peace. John listened, captivated, as Lyra described the prophecy's details, her voice a soft murmur against the backdrop of illuminated plants. It dawned on him that his presence might be seen in a far more significant light than he had anticipated. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, not just to fulfill his diplomatic duties, but perhaps to fulfill a part of their destiny. The day's final ritual was the sharing of light, where each woman he had interacted with placed a hand on the tapestry they had woven together, their hands glowing with a soft light that slowly merged into the fabric. When it came to John's turn, he placed his hand among theirs, feeling the warmth and energy pulsate through the material, sealing his part in their collective history. As the ritual concluded, the tapestry was lifted before the tribe, now glowing steadily with stories old and new. John's inclusion in this sacred artifact symbolized a newfound acceptance and understanding, a mutual respect forged through shared creativity and the profound sharing of lives. The experience left John reflective as he returned to his quarters under Zoloria's starry sky. He realized that the task ahead was not just about pleasing through rituals, but about being woven into the very fabric of Zolorian society, a challenge that required as much humility as it did diplomacy. The coming days would test the strength of these newly formed bonds as he continued to navigate the complex waters of interstellar relations on a planet as full of history as Zoloria. As the sons of Zoria rose in tandem, casting a dual shadow over the village, a palpable tension filled the air, a prelude to the day's significant event, the trial of trust. This ancient test was designed to assess the sincerity and strength of the bonds formed between John and the tribe. Today, his ability to understand and integrate the Zolorian values would be put to the ultimate test. The setting for the trial was the Circle of Truth, a revered site located in the heart of the village. It was an arena of sorts, surrounded by statues of the tribe's ancestors, each carved from the luminous stone native to Zoloria. The ground was covered in a fine, silvery sand that shimmered underfoot, reflecting the light from above in mesmerizing patterns. John entered the circle, accompanied by Zara and the elders of the tribe. Around them, the entire village gathered, forming a living barrier of anticipation and scrutiny. The air was thick with the scent of Zora flowers, which were said to heighten one's senses and enhance emotional clarity. The first test was the binding of secrets. John was asked to share a truth about his world, something profound and not previously disclosed to the tribe. The elders believed that shared secrets would deepen the communal ties, fostering a spirit of unity and trust. John spoke of Earth, of its vast oceans and towering cities, of the wars fought over resources, and the peace sought by its people. His voice carried a sincerity that resonated with the audience, mirroring their own stories of strife and harmony. Next came the challenge of perception, where John was blindfolded and led through a series of physical and mental obstacles. He had to rely solely on the instructions whispered by the women he had bonded with during the previous rites. Their voices guided him over rough terrain, through narrow passages, and around obstacles, each step a testament to his faith in their words and their understanding of his capabilities. As the trial progressed, John's understanding of the tribe deepened, and his responses grew more intuitive. The women noticed this change, their guiding words shifting from cautious directions to trusting affirmations. The final obstacle was a climb up a steep incline, where at the top he was to retrieve a symbol of the tribe, a crystal that glowed with the light of Zoloria's moons. With the crystal in hand and the blindfold removed, John stood before the tribe, his figure bathed in the crystal's soothing light. The elders approached, examining the symbol, and then John himself, their eyes searching for any hint of deceit or misunderstanding. Zara stepped forward, her expression a blend of pride and curiosity. "John Hawk, you have shown us your heart and spirit through the trial of trust. Your actions reflect a true desire to know us, to be part of us." The crowd's response was a mixture of cheers and murmurs, a community on the cusp of embracing a foreign entity as one of their own. The elders conferred briefly before turning back to face him, their decision clear in their poised stances. "You have passed the trial of trust, but your integration into our tribe is not yet complete," Zara announced, her voice echoing across the silent crowd. "There remains one final rite, one that will require not just your trust, but that of the entire tribe." As the sun set, casting long shadows across the circle of truth, John prepared himself for the final rite. It was clear that his acceptance was not just a formality, but a transformational process that would change him and the tribe forever. The weight of expectation hung heavy as the stars began to twinkle overhead, signaling the approach of night and the final challenges that awaited. Under the starlit sky, the village of Zoria transformed. Bioluminescent decorations, reflecting the dual moons, illuminated the pathways and buildings, setting the stage for the final rite, a ceremony that would cement John's place within the tribe or mark his ultimate separation from it. This rite, known as the Embrace of Souls, was rarely performed, reserved for those who had profoundly impacted the tribe's future. John, guided by Zara and surrounded by the entire tribe, was led to the ancient Temple of Reflections, a place said to reveal the true nature of one's spirit. Inside the temple, the air was cool and resonant with the soft hum of sacred crystals. The center of the temple housed a large, mirror-like pool filled with a liquid that shimmered with an internal light. The tribe believed that this pool could connect the essence of an individual to the collective consciousness of the Zolorians, a connection that was both an honor and a profound spiritual ordeal. Zara spoke softly, her words echoing in the crystalline chamber. "John, the Embrace of Souls requires you to enter the pool and allow your essence to merge with ours. It is not just a sharing of memories or emotions, but of souls. You will see us as we truly are, and in return, we will see into your heart. Are you prepared to take this step, knowing it might change you forever?" John, understanding the gravity of the moment, nodded. His heart pounded with a mix of anticipation and trepidation as he approached the pool. The surface rippled as he dipped his hands in, the cool liquid sending a surge of emotions and visions through his mind. The tribe watched in silent reverence as John submerged himself fully. Visions flooded his senses. The history of Zoria, the joys and sorrows of its people, their struggles against invaders, and their dreams of peace. He saw Zara as a young girl, learning the lore of her people. He felt the pain of warriors lost in battle, the hope of children playing under the suns, and the steadfast love of families bound by centuries of tradition. As John emerged from the pool, the air around him seemed to pulse with the collective heartbeat of the tribe. His eyes, now reflecting the luminescent glow of the pool, met Zara's. In that moment, a profound understanding passed between them, an unspoken agreement of trust and mutual respect. The elders approached, their faces etched with awe. One by one, they placed their hands upon his shoulders, their touch a confirmation of his acceptance. "You have seen into our souls and we into yours. "From this day forward you are one of us, not just by deed but by spirit," Zara declared, her voice steady and strong. As the ceremony concluded, the tribe began a celebration unlike any John had witnessed before. Music filled the air, a vibrant sound that seemed to arise from the very ground of Zoria. Dancers moved around him, their bodies adorned with glowing patterns that traced the history of their people, a living tapestry of their culture. John found himself swept up in the celebration, dancing and laughing with his new family. The barriers between them had not just been lowered, but obliterated. He was no longer the outsider, the interstellar visitor. He was a Zolorian, bound by soul and purpose. As the moons crossed paths in the night sky, creating a rare celestial pattern celebrated by the Zolorians, John realized the magnitude of what he had become part of. This was not merely a diplomatic mission. It was a joining of lives and histories, a true embrace of souls that transcended worlds. Ready for the conclusion or any further development in the tale? Just let me know. In the days that followed the embrace of souls, John's perception of time and life on Zoria shifted profoundly. With his newly forged bond and understanding of the tribe's collective consciousness, he saw the world through a lens that was both alien and familiar. Every interaction was imbued with a deeper meaning, and his decisions carried the weight of his adopted tribe's expectations and history. Zara and the elders called upon John to assist in negotiations with a neighboring tribe, with whom tensions had been simmering for generations. The elders believed that John's unique position as both an outsider and a tribe member could offer new perspectives on the long-standing disputes over land and resources. As they approached the negotiation site, a neutral ground marked by ancient standing stones, John felt the collective apprehension of his tribe. The opposing tribe's leaders were already gathered, their expressions guarded and their stance defensive. The air was thick with the scent of tension, reminiscent of the pre-battle nerves John had felt during his military days on Earth. The negotiations were tense, with both sides presenting their grievances and claims. John listened, his mind sifting through the emotions and thoughts swirling through the connection he now shared with his tribe. When he spoke, his words were not just his own, but carried the hopes of the Zolorians he represented. He proposed a series of shared projects that would benefit both tribes, including a joint water management program and a cultural exchange that could foster better relations. To his relief and the elders' quiet pride, the proposal was met with cautious optimism. The leaders of the opposing tribe, intrigued by John's unique perspective and the genuine understanding evident in his voice, agreed to a trial period for the proposed projects. Over the next few weeks, John's role as an intermediary became crucial. He traveled between the tribes, overseeing the implementation of the agreed-upon initiatives, resolving disputes, and gradually seeing the seeds of trust grow. The shared projects not only improved resource management, but also opened channels of communication that had been closed for centuries. One evening, as John and Zara watched the twin suns set, casting long shadows over the land, she turned to him with a serious gaze. "Your arrival, prophesied or not, has brought change, John. But with great change comes great responsibility. You are now a bridge between not just two tribes, but potentially between worlds." John felt the weight of her words. His mission had evolved from one of mere exploration to something much more significant. He pondered the future, considering the potential of extending this newfound peace to other realms and planets. The idea of using Zoria as a model for interstellar diplomacy sparked a sense of purpose in him that went beyond any diplomatic mission he had previously undertaken. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert from his ship, the Nebular Drift. A message from Earth, urgent and demanding attention. As he read the contents, his heart sank. Earth was on the brink of an interstellar conflict, and they were calling him back for consultation, hoping his experience with the Zolorians could help prevent a war. Torn between his duty to Earth and his loyalty to Zoria, John stood at a crossroads. The decision he made would affect not just his future, but the future of interstellar relations across the galaxy. As the stars twinkled above, mirroring the luminescent flora of Zoria, John knew that whatever choice he made The path ahead would be fraught with challenges and opportunities as the dual moons of Zoria hovered in the sky, casting a serene glow over the land. John wrestled with the decision that lay before him. The pull between his duties to Earth and his commitments to Zoria was more than just a personal dilemma. It symbolized the larger challenges of balancing interstellar alliances with local obligations. He met with Zara and the elders under the ancient gathering tree, its branches stretching wide, adorned with thousands of luminescent leaves that flickered like stars. The air was filled with the subtle hum of Zolorian night creatures, a reminder of the planet's vibrant ecosystem, now familiar and dear to him. John shared the urgent message from Earth, explaining the potential conflict and his role in helping to avert it. The silence that followed was profound, each member of the council absorbing the gravity of the situation. Zara, her eyes reflecting the moon's light, finally spoke. "John, you have become one of us, but you also belong to your own world. We cannot hold you back from your responsibilities there, just as we cannot turn away from ours here." The other elders nodded in agreement, their faces marked by a mixture of respect and sadness. They understood the stakes, not just for John, but for the possibility of future relations between Earth and Zoria. "It is perhaps our destiny to not only share our lives with you, but to share our lessons of peace and cooperation with your world," Zara continued, her voice steady and inspiring. "Go back to Earth, John, and carry with you our hopes. Show them that even the deepest divides can be bridged with understanding and trust." Heartened by their support and understanding, John made arrangements for his departure. The final days were a whirlwind of preparations and farewells, each member of the tribe offering him tokens and messages to take back to Earth. They imbued him with not just gifts, but with a sense of purpose. He was now an ambassador of Zoloria's culture and its profound legacy of peace. As John boarded the nebular drift, he turned for one last look at Zoria. The tribe was gathered outside, a sea of faces lit by the glow of the moons and the bioluminescent flora. He felt their collective warmth and knew that a part of him would always remain with them, tethered by the deep bonds they had forged. The journey back to Earth was introspective, filled with plans and strategies for presenting the lessons of Zoria to Earth's leaders. The looming conflict on Earth seemed even more tragic through the lens of his experiences. He was determined to use the insights gained from the Zolorians to influence Earth's approach to conflict and diplomacy. Upon his arrival, John was thrust into a series of high-level briefings and negotiations. Using the strategies he had learned on Zoria, he advocated for patience, communication, and shared projects to foster trust and cooperation between the conflicting parties on Earth. Gradually, the tide of opinion began to turn. The leaders, moved by John's accounts of Zoria and its culture, agreed to a series of diplomatic engagements rather than aggressive postures. The crisis began to de-escalate, and new paths to peace were slowly, painstakingly forged. In the quiet moments, John often gazed at the stars, thinking of Zoria. The planet had taught him that the galaxy's diversity was not a barrier, but a bridge. As Earth moved towards peace, John planned his return to Zoria, carrying back with him Earth's gratitude and a renewed commitment to their shared future. In the dance of interstellar relations, Zoria and Earth had become partners, their fates intertwined by the unlikeliest of ambassadors, whose journey had changed not just one world, but two.